Very
Okay.
confident.
All right. Perfect. Then if I could, everybody just make sure that you're on shout, please. We're
Here.
just gonna do this as a
Shout.
preliminary bench
Shout.
trial. Be a little bit different than what's normal, but we've got the San Andreas Public Safety Department versus Mr. Shan Snawasaki. Am I pronouncing your last name right?
Yamaguchi.
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 Thank you. I
I
apologize,
thought it was
Mr.
Ugly.
Yamagaki. I
Yamaguchi.
apologize.
All right, Mr. Yamaguchi, and Mr. Kildare representing. So right now, the Public Safety Department has an outstanding warrant for your client that is going to be on the charge of accessory to kidnapping, fleeing a Leo, owning a firearm without a license, and armed robbery. There's also a supplementary charge on animal cruelty for what seems to be murdering a rabbit inside the hospital. So I assume, do you know which way your client wants to plead on this?
How do you want to plead on this? Not guilty, Your Honor.
All right, the client is pleading not guilty. So since this is a preliminary bench trial, my job is to ascertain whether or not uh, public safety has enough to meet some of the minimum grounds on this one. So I'll let PD go ahead if you want to recount the warrant first for me, and
Yeah.
then you can go ahead
Romero, take that.
recount the additional charge.
Yep. Romero, why don't you take the warrant? I'll take the other one.
Okay.
Yeah, if they need probably or anything, I
All
will
right,
get up.
and just state the warrant number for me, please.
8869.
All right, I do have that up in front of me, so please proceed.
Um, we attached to a store robbery that was being taken place. There was one Yamaguchi inside, along with the Mayor Finn as the hostage, as well as another suspect, Calvin Wide, I think his last name is. Wild. We got into a vehicle pursuit with these individuals, as well as a boat pursuit. Yamaguchi was shooting at officers. Officer shot back and was able to down the suspect. From there, he was able to get treatment. He was admitted to the hospital at that point, and under orders, I put a warrant for his charges due to him being admitted. A few days later, we suggested a psych eval due to him not remembering a lot of things. If I recall, he only remembered his name and date of birth when we last spoke, and did not have any knowledge to prior events leading up to this point.
Okay, I understand. Okay, thank you for recapping that for me. So what what evidence do you just in that report? Can you just recount your evidence as well, please?
Weapon that he used that was on his persons, as well as casings, um, photo evidence at the scene, and the money that he had on his person.
Okay, are you talking about cash that he had on his person or
Correct.
bankroll?
He had bankrolls.
Okay.
Your Honor, if I may,
Yes, please.
I believe the photo evidence is not on that report.
Is there no photo evidence
Um,
on that file?
I'll make sure to put it right now.
Or is it? I don't know. I tried looking at
Or-
it and see all of it, but
I didn't
I
see
might be
any
wrong
photo
on that.
evidence on there, or even any evidence of a fire. I see a firearm listed. I don't obviously see a photo of that firearm, and I assume
Oh,
that you
you know
don't
what
have.
it is? There's two separate ones. It looks like one with evidence and one without.
Okay, so there's two separate case files for the same thing.
Or there's one on the 26th and one on the 28th. I don't know if they're connected to the same thing.
Are they the same charges?
They're similar. That's what I don't know.
Did this incident take place on the 28th or 26th?
The 28th.
All right. So
Okay, so
I
there
guess
is
I'm
no
confused as to
photo.
what there was on the 26th that would make it so
The 26th, he was also charged with armed robbery.
he was processed for that already.
I believe so. Yeah.
It's marked that he was processed on there.
Okay. Okay. All right. So thank you for presenting that, Mr. Romero. Defense, I know that you've stated that your client is pleading not guilty on this. Could you at least recap for me the areas of contention you have?
All right.
Oh god.
First and foremost, I would like to say that based on the evidence in the report, we cannot make strong determinations whether or not he was guilty to some, if not a majority of these charges.
What the fuck is
We
he
don't
doing?
know if he fired his weapon at anyone, if he actually held a weapon to a hostage or anything, other than the visual evidence from police. That can be so faulty, who don't, especially in a high stress situation like this. We don't have anything to suggest that this client did that, huh?
Okay, so you're stating that you're contending on the police witnesses.
I'm just saying there is not enough hard evidence against my client.
Romero.
Okay, so PD has a firearm, and let me just ask this to Romero. So PD has a firearm that was fired, or that was at least in the suspect's possession.
Correct.
And do you have bullet casings that match that firearm?
I'm just trying my best here. Listen.
I might have to double check on the casings. One second.
Here we go. Here we go.
Okay. So while you check on whether or not I don't see casings listed in the report. I know you mentioned it in your summary. Mr. Kidell brings up a decent point on whether or not there is conclusive evidence or at least enough hard evidence to support the charge. Part of my job in this bench trial is to ascertain whether or not police have overwhelming evidence that matches out the charges and proceed from there, or whether or not it needs to move on to a full criminal trial. So right now you have a firearm that was found on the suspect's possession, and I don't know if there are any bullet casings in which he wasn't charged with any attempted murder, right? So I assume, Mr.
I believe
Kildare, that you would be contesting the armed robbery portion.
Yeah, it's what I
Okay.
was saying. Yep, totally.
All right, I understand.
He's
So
just
are
throwing
there,
shit at a
does the
wall.
PD have any if you want to come back up here, Mr. Romero, I just have a couple questions. So, does the PD have any witnesses, right? So let me understand. He was at Evangelico. He fled with the other
Store.
suspects. Huh? He was at the store robbery, right? And he fled
Correct.
with the other suspects.
Correct.
Okay. Did you witness the suspect uh holding somebody at gunpoint?
Yes.
Okay, you saw the suspect holding at gunpoint.
Yes, to the mayor, Mayor Finn.
Okay, to Mayor Finn.
Correct.
This may sound like a particularly obvious question, right? But I'm gonna need you to answer this for me, okay? So you saw him with a gun to the suspect. They got in their vehicle and fled, right? And you
We're just gonna be
recaught
taking
the
care of
same
things while I'm
suspect
sitting.
as they were attempting to flee via a boat.
Correct. He jumped out the boat, and we were able to detain him there.
Okay, he jumped out of the boat. You were able to detain him there. Did you lose any sight of this man at any point in time in your pursuit? I assume not, since you caught him.
Nope.
Okay.
We had eyes on the vehicle the entire time.
Okay, so there was no point where you did not lose eyes.
Nope. We did not go VCB once.
Okay, all right. And so then when you recovered the defendant from the water, you were then able to identify him.
Correct. He had an ID in his pocket, and I was able to snap that.
Okay, and the person whom you arrested looks like this person here that we have in the courtroom.
Correct.
Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you. Okay. All right, Mr. Kildare. So it seems like, at least from what's been presented so far, that he was seen as a witness by this officer at the robbery. He was holding the gun to the suspect's head. They never lost eyesight of your client, and they even recovered him after he fell out the boat. And he had the firearm on him. To me, that
I would
seems
like
like
to. Oh, I apologize for speaking.
I was gonna say that seems pretty conclusive to me.
I would like to contend to the prosecuting party. You say that you had a visual bias on him the entire time. What about, well, he was in admittance to the hospital, huh? Was he under constant surveillance then?
Mr. Kildare, are you suggesting that your client may have been swapped out at the hospital after officers ID'd him before he was admitted?
I'm saying that it could be a possibility. This man seems to have no recollection of events that happened. Therefore,
Fucking bullshit.
who
artist.
knows? There may be foul play.
To anyone's knowledge, was this individual he drowned in the water, or was he shot?
He was shot.
Okay, was he shot in the head?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so he was shot in the head. All right, Dr. Cecil, taking a bullet to the brain, would this rise to? Let me rephrase this. If someone is shot in the head, is it unreasonable that they would have lost
Yeah,
their
this is
memory
still going.
of events prior?
That's completely reasonable.
Okay, all right. Were there
Still
any other
going.
officers who were on that scene that are here in the courtroom right now?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. Okay.
I would like
All right.
point to some circumstantial evidence of the classic video game Fallout New Vegas, where you're the main character shot in the head, and then proceeds to become a mass murdering maniac across the wasteland within hours of this. He makes a full recovery, and then he goes on his rampage across the wasteland.
Objection, Your
I
Honor. That
believe
man was
that's
going
just
off
as
of
good as
vengeance.
medical evidence.
Vengeance in a post-apocalyptic world.
That's just as good as medical evidence.
Are you comparing my degree to a video game?
I mean, it's a very good video game. You should try it.
It's pretty good. Probably the best one.
Alright, I'll give it a go.
Okay. With regard to the charge of not having a
got
license
him.
to carry a firearm, how did you come to this conclusion?
He was arrested 2 days prior. He lost his weapons license.
Okay, so you confirmed that he did not have his license
Correct.
at the time of his secondary arrest.
Correct.
We got
Okay,
sessions.
I
That's all
understand,
that's
I
important.
understand. All right. Well, from that perspective, Mr. Kildare, I will at least have to say that the charge of armed robbery and accessory to kidnapping, fleeing of a Leo, and the final charge of having a firearm with license it seems that the PD has sufficient evidence on this one. I don't think a criminal trial is
Fair
necessary
enough.
on those particular charges.
Fair
Okay.
enough.
The supplementary charge we have, Rascal, if you want to come up and just
Yep.
recount for me the particular case file.
All right. So we're looking at. We're looking at 88. Oh shit! I got the wrong one open. Hold on.
I'm sorry.
We're looking at 8949. Aggravated animal cruelty. I was called yesterday to Pillbox regarding Mr. Yamaguchi. Actually, Dr. Butler here called in over the radio that he needed assistance and he needed to have a discussion with an officer. So at that point, I went to Pillbox. I had a discussion with him, and he told me all about how Mr. Yamaguchi had surgery, and then when he had come out, he was under observation, and Nurse Pace went in the room to check on him, and that's when he found a mutilated rabbit on the bed. There was lit candles in the room. The lights were shut off. Some point, he offered Nurse Pace and I believe Deputy Desmond there a cup of blood, believed to be from the rabbit. But relying mostly on the testimony of Nurse Pace and Deputy Desmond included in that.
All right, so Deputy Desmond, if I could just have you recount for you the situation from your perspective, please.
I'll come up here. So, we were coming back into the room to do a checkup after surgery. Nurse Pace over here, he asked for me to come into the room because he found a dead rabbit, cup of blood, and 3 candles lit with lights off. At that time, I was out getting the police because I wanted to see how they want to proceed with the warrant. Then I told them what I was getting told over the radio, and they all went back with me. I believe it was Investigator Hart, then 2 other officers that I don't really remember. After we took out the rabbit and the cup of blood, 2 officers decided to restrain Mr. Yamaguchi to the bed. And we were asking for another doctor to do a psych eval.
Okay, and who conducted the psych evaluation?
That was Dr. Butler.
Doctor-
Dr. Butler and Mr. Pace.
Is that doctor here?
He was right there.
Oh, okay. All right, perfect. Doctor, if I could have you just come up and recount your psych eval for me, please.
Yeah, of course. Pace, would you like to come up with me as you were there?
Yeah, sure.
Nurse Pace was also present during the psych evaluation, if that's alright.
All right.
Alrighty. We had gone in. Actually, give me 1 second. I'll pull up my notes. Got notes on it. Pace, do you still have the notes?
Yeah.
Excuse me, Judge. Is it okay for the public to sit in on this due to the fact that we're exposing his medical records?
Yeah. At this point, the moment that at least this portion, since you're into court, does become a matter of public record. So, I can't sequester this particular. I cannot
Here you
hold
go.
this particular
Yeah.
evidence as a matter of public record.
Okay,
Alrighty.
no problem.
So, we went in. We had a series of questions we were going to ask Mr. Yamaguchi to determine whether or not he was going to be fit for, being released to the public, so to speak, after his incarceration. And because of the things that had transpired in his post-surgery, we made sure to address everything that was brought to our attention. So, we asked him about the voices that apparently he was hearing. He said it's his ancestors. He was hearing his ancestors and dragons. He can channel 1 dragon at a time. He hears 12 family members, and up to one dragon at a time, but there's 3 different dragons. Alright. He could see his father, his grandfather, and his great grandfather. He enjoys drinking blood. He says blood is delicious. It makes him very good and brave, quote unquote. And apparently it's also a family thing slash tradition to drink blood and his own blood. So, it's
He
tack
stated
that on
to
there.
you that it was a family tradition to.
A family tradition slash like it's a family thing slash a tradition. Like it's something that he's been doing, for a while, I suppose. Then we went on to the visual hallucinations a little bit. So the voices that he hears are extremely angry. He was having delusions. He was hearing things. The voices would tell him that he's very handsome and very brave, unless he drank blood. Apparently, drinking blood made the voices happy with him.
All
And
right.
we also I left the room to talk to to talk to Officer Brishol. Sorry about my verbal diarrhea there. I went to talk to Officer Brishol, and while outside, Nurse Pace here did a little recounting, and he sang Bohemian Rhapsody. Uh, his favorite color is red, and
We're rambling.
he has feelings that he has special powers that no one else has. He can gather the energy of a dragon.
All right.
Our total consensus was that he was not fit for society, as he is a danger to himself and others.
I would like also to add he also has a dissociation as well. We were just doing small conversation about like traveling, and then during one part he said that he just traveled to Canada 3 minutes ago, and then proceeds to travel other words as well.
About the part with the dragon nuts on the face joke.
Okay. Thank you for that. So, defense, is your client also contesting this charge?
I will answer that very, very soon. Are we contesting this charge?
Yeah, this is still going on.
Not guilty, Your Honor.
So yesterday when he said he
Okay.
had the power of a dragon,
And on what
I made
grounds
the
is your
dragon
client
he's nuts
contesting the
across your
charge
face.
based on
Alright.
the totality of the evidence?
First and foremost, I would like to begin by asking about the what was allegedly taken from my client while he was in hospital care. I want to know why this rabbit, blood, and or candles and any other such paraphernalia were not entered into evidence for us to review them. I cannot make an appropriate determination off of just this testimony alone. Surely there's something.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go up? Or?
That does bring up a good point. Do we? Why is there no evidence of the rabbit in particular?
Go.
Your Honor, I was not there, so I would like
Cecil,
Desmond to. There we go. Desmond, you can explain that.
So me and North Pacio thought it was an appropriate decision to get the rabbit out of the room as fast as possible, and we put it down in the morgue. So just in case if it did have any diseases, it would be in a contained area like the morgue.
Yeah, one of our probation
Are we
training.
able to?
Yeah.
Are we able to present that rabbit before the court?
Or photos of the rabbit or of the scene?
We can go get it out of the morgue.
I mean, unfortunately, they're already here in the middle of a trial, and just given the significant amount of time.
Fair enough. We'll just act like they destroyed the evidence. Okay. I would like to motion for a mistrial for them destroying the evidence.
Well, I will have to at least look at from the defense perspective on this and state that
Huh?
without any photos or physical evidence of the rabbit, uh,
True. We can't say
you're
whether or
not
not the killing
leaving
was
me
unnecessary.
enough to say definitively that he did in fact kill a rabbit.
Hmm?
I mean,
Which is
I
fucking
understand
bullshit.
your testimony as officers, and you all have an exemplary track record, and the courts do view testimony from law enforcement as evidence. But I'm not sure that that alone is going to be enough for me to rule in favor of that particular charge.
Your Honor, if I may, I'm not disputing the fact that there may or may not have been a rabbit there, but that we don't have enough evidence to say whether or not the death of said rabbit was performed by my client or that it was deemed, quote, unnecessary, as the law is defined, and or whether or not the corpse of which was mutilated. As for the
So,
blood, there's plenty of cultures that, drink blood, one of which being vampires, some of which being Native American tribes.
so you're conceding that a rabbit was in fact killed.
The evidence seems to suggest that, yes. But in lieu of a body, I cannot say for sure. It may be a bunny, it may be a jackalope. We don't know.
Okay,
Fuck.
so you're conceding that a rabbit or animal was killed, but you're at least contesting whether or not your client was the person responsible for killing it.
Yes.
Does your client have an explanation to offer why there was a dead animal in that room?
Do you have an explanation as to say whether or not why there was an animal?
Trial of the century, folks.
Do you have any other explanations?
Is he saying that he tore it apart and drank it like a juice box?
Your Honor, he carries a rabbit around with him. Just in
Oh
case.
God.
Okay, so where is the rabbit that he was carrying? So you're okay. So the rabbit was in the room because he brought the rabbit in the room,
Jesus Christ. He just proved it for us.
and
Thank you.
multiple officers and medical staff went in that room,
Thank you, Jesus.
and they're all
Thank you.
testifying that animal was dead in that room. You, as the defense, even concede that an animal was dead in that room,
Mhm.
but the only question is whether or not your client was responsible for killing that animal.
Yes.
So, to your client's knowledge, did anybody
Real
else
whodunit.
enter that room prior to medical staff and law enforcement leaving?
Did anyone else enter that room prior to medical staff or law enforcement leaving? We do not know.
Okay,
Your
I'll
Honor,
ask that same question to public safety.
Your Honor, the client was behind locked doors, and the only people that went to see him were LEOs or medical staff.
Okay, so here's where I'm at. In the psychological report produced by medical staff, your client tells doctors
I get you.
and the nurse that there was a cultural practice behind killing the particular animal. Your client states that he had an animal on him and that even the animal was killed
Thank you.
inside there in this courtroom. He's not admitting that he killed the animal, but he did admit that to medical staff. So, viewing the totality of the circumstances in that, I think it is reasonable to conclude that your client uh, did in fact kill that animal.
Fuck yeah.
Even
Let's
though
fucking go.
public safety has not
Yamaguchi looks like he's
produced
freaking
the
out.
animal, it does seem to be a uniform
Actually-
consensus that an animal was in that room and an animal was murdered, or at least killed.
Fair enough. So now we need to argue whether or not that the death of that animal would be deemed quote unquote unnecessary for this to be a criminal charge.
I agree with that as well. So, based off the testimony from EMS, it sounds like your client offered a religious and cultural practice behind why the animal was sacrificed
Okay, so
in there. They testify to that fact, at least in their initial report. Does your client also come to that same conclusion? I mean, is he willing to say here in court that that is, in fact, a part of a religious practice that he has?
Is that part of why you did the thing
But we heard on religious grounds.
But we'll get to you back, I think.
Yes, Your Honor.
So speaking.
Okay, I need to ask your client some questions around this. Because at this point, I'm gonna have to ascertain whether or not your client has these are sincerely held religious beliefs.
All right.
Or if he's just a fucking whack job.
So, is your client capable of answering
Bing
questions
bong.
at this time? He
Are
seems to be responding to you. So,
you capable of answering questions? That's not what he's gonna. That's not what he's gonna be asking questions about.
Why is his shoe still over here?
It'll be about like your practices and all that, your tradition, all that nonsense. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He can speak to that point.
Holy shit. Okay. That'll be good.
Oh,
That'll be real good.
all right. So, if you want to come up to the front here, son.
I hope he speaks about his superpowers
Right.
and just totally ignore the question.
Oh, I totally forgot to mention he
Oh,
pulled
hello.
the IV out of his
All
arm.
right. If you don't mind, just at least telling me a little bit more about this practice that you have or your family has on sacrificing animals.
Oh, we do not sacrifice animals. We use them for source of energy. Within such as, food and water.
Okay, so you use them as food or water.
Yes.
So when you sacrifice or I should say, killed the animal, do you consume the animal as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Can you explain to me why you consume the animal?
Oh, it's a tradition like everywhere else. You go hunting for a rabbit, and or
Wait,
you
does
go
that mean
buy
Hold on,
a
hold on, hold on.
like
rabbits?
Relax.
and and you go home and cook that rabbit.
Is this a tradition that you have in your family?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
indeed.
Is it common tradition to drink the blood of that animal?
Yes.
Okay. Now, it sounds that it seems like it was a little bit graphic in its nature. So when you killed the animal, did you kill it in
He
such
was
a way
drinking
that
his own
was
blood.
swift, to get to the point of trying to get sustenance, or was this a little bit more aggressive than that?
Oh, we always treat our animals very, very well. We don't want to harm or let them feel pain at all. So we make it a swift, clean kill.
Okay, and can you explain to me the candles that you had lit in the room?
Oh yes, it was like a dinner party.
Okay, so it was a dinner party.
Yes, for myself.
All right, can you just recount for me what happened in the room when they left and you pulled out the rabbit?
Oh, well, I pull out the rabbit, uh, and, it was already dead, because I bought it from someone. All I had to do is cut it open and, pour the blood out, and, well, it was already cooked as well, so it wasn't raw.
The rabbit was already
So
cooked.
then, how did he suck the
Yes,
juice
I
out?
got the
The
rabbit
blood.
and the blood separated.
I don't think he understands how meat gets
So
cooked.
you didn't kill the rabbit in the room.
There's
the rabbit
no
was
blood
already
left.
killed,
It depends on how
Yes, indeed.
he cooked it.
and the rabbit was cooked.
Yes.
Okay. How was this rabbit cooked?
It was grilled.
Okay, the rabbit was grilled.
When?
Is it common in your experience in this for rabbits that are already pre-cooked and grilled to have
Oh, that's not.
amounts of blood
That's not.
Oh,
to the point where you
absolutely.
can consume the blood?
Absolutely. We always use the
Hmm?
blood for like blood sausages or other things to that nature. and we cook the blood sausages, but sometimes we keep the blood to drink
What is that?
because blood is very, very good, and it helps your
This
brain,
fucking
helps you
Get him outta here.
focus,
You want me to get
and
him out?
makes you very, very brave.
So this is not a religious belief or practice that you were engaging in. You were trying to eat.
No, not at all.
Okay, those are all the questions I have. I'm gonna pivot back to the nurse and Deputy Desmond. If you guys want to come up for me real quick, please. Thank you, sir.
Okay,
So, what did this rabbit appear cooked to you when you disposed of it?
Not that I can really remember. I just saw the rabbit. It still has like the fur on it, and we decided to get it out of the room as fast as possible.
Okay, the rabbit in particular. Did you ever see the rabbit alive at some point, or you only saw the rabbit with blood on the floor?
I only saw the rabbit's corpse with blood in the cup.
Okay, and nurse, I'll ask you the same question.
Yeah.
Did
So
you see that rabbit alive at any point?
I was actually the first one who came into the room, so it was all dark. So the moment I turned on the light, I just saw the dead rabbit and then a cup full of blood. I noticed the candles were there, so I called for Desmond and also the aliens to come by. We decided to remove the candle because it's a safety hazard for fire inside of oxygen and all that. That's not a good thing. We decided to remove that. Remove the rabbit as well. I told there was also a probation trainee that came in, and I told her just take the rabbit and put it in the morgue for now until we try to clean up the place.
Okay, so nobody saw the rabbit alive.
I
No.
would like to ask you, when you say clean up the place, what do you mean?
Well, obviously the patient's still in there, so we had to clean it up. There's blood everywhere, the candles, tidy up the
You
room.
said there was only blood in the cup.
Yeah, but also prior to that, there was also patient also had an IV on him, which then he removed himself when he was asked he wanted to leave, proceeds to blood splatter everywhere as well. So we didn't have time to clean up that place until then, so that was still there during that scene.
Okay, I think I have a determination on this one. All right, Supreme Court case: the Church of Luiki Huamu versus the City of Hialeah in Miami. The Supreme Court did rule that animal sacrifices are legal underneath the First Amendment if an individual can display that they have sincerely held religious beliefs around such an animal sacrifice. However, in this case, that particular court case does not apply, as the defendant here has stated that the animal was not killed as a part of a religious practice or sincerely held religious belief. So it would not, in fact, be a First Amendment protected activity from that perspective. However, public safety has been unable to provide to us whether or not the rabbit was alive prior to them entering into that room.
If I knew we were going to go for this charge, I would have see the rabbit.
Pretty clearly that the rabbit was already killed prior to the scene inside the hospital. Whether or not the body of the rabbit was displayed in a way that could be reasonably seen as grotesque isn't necessarily relevant, as we cannot establish if the rabbit was alive in the hospital room and whether or not the defendant killed that rabbit between when medical staff are present and when they returned with law enforcement. The defendant claims that he ate this rabbit as a means to get sustenance, and he drank the blood as well. People do drink blood, as disgusting as I might find that, or many of us do find that. People do that, and he pointed that out in his discussion of blood sausage. So I am going to find that the charge of animal cruelty, the defendant being not guilty on that, and that one does not.
1 second,
stand.
Your Honor. You ever actually had a blood sausage?
The next question that I have in front of me with regard to the warrant in particular isn't whether or not the client committed the actions, but whether or not the client knew right from wrong when he committed those actions. So based off of the evaluation and questions that we got from the doctor, it is quite possible that the client has suffered memory loss and other psychological trauma as a result to being shot in the head by law enforcement in his attempt to flee. There's nothing in there from either side that would indicate that the defendant was facing any of this psychological trauma prior to the incidents in question. So I do think he understood right from wrong when he committed that crime, and as such, uh, uh, he can be judged justly inside of a
From
court
jail.
of law. And I will rule that PD has displayed enough overwhelming evidence that a criminal trial is not necessary in this case. We don't need to proceed forward. So I am going to find the defendant guilty on that side. Here comes down to the matter of the sentence. The charge in the warrant recommends a $1,300 fine and 180 months. While I do believe that you are guilty, sir, of the crime that you've committed, I do take into consideration the psychological evaluation that was performed by medical staff. And I do think that we need to bring that into consideration in this, even though the actions you had were done prior. So this is what I'm going to find you as. I'm going to rule that you will do 45 months in prison, and that in lieu of a $1,300 fine, you'll be subjected to a $500 fine. Now, I am also going to recommend in my sentence that the entirety of your time served at Bolingbrook Penitentiary shall be done in a psychological ward at Bolingbrook Penitentiary, where you are to undergo treatment for the psychological trauma that you are
I guess we
experiencing
could put him in
as a
informally.
result of your getting shot in the head. I am also going to order that upon your release from prison, you attend at least 3 sessions with hospital staff to make a determination as to whether or not the treatment is effective. Is that agreed upon by EMS and hospital staff?
Cecil.
I can agree with that. We have a very good psychologist over there, and we'll make sure that he's treated properly.
All right. Well, then, on that note, I will rule this court adjourned and case settled.
Huzzah.
Thank you all for your time.
Yep.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Whew.
So just a
Thank you, Your
reminder,
Honor.
45 months, right? Just for law enforcement to
All
know.
right.
$500
Thank
fine.
you.
Okay.
45 months. He needs to be remanded to
need
psychological
a riot,
custody
don't
and
we?
Bowling at prison.
Yep.
And then upon his release, he is ordered to do 3 psychological sessions. It is very important, Mr. Kildare, that at the end of the 3 sessions, that you or whomever represents your client comes back to the court and provides us with
Not
paper
it.
evidence that he did such a thing. All right. If I find out that he didn't, I will find him in contempt of court.
All right.
All right.
Not it.
Go ahead and process your suspect.
All right. No. I did all the hard work.
Okay.